Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to today's live. So this is super exciting. If you didn't see my post, this is the first call where I will be taking open coaching at the end of this live. Hopefully you can hear me okay. Okay. So I will be taking open coaching at the end of this live. If you didn't see the post, I have a pinned post on my Instagram profile, and it says Ask Coach Presh, and you can put your question in the comments, and I check that every time before I hop on live. I make sure that I take note of any questions on there, so if you have any questions, put it there. And if you are on live, you can put your questions in the comments here on live, and I'll answer. I won't ask a question. I will answer your question as it relates to the pursuit of peace and purpose. Also, if you aren't comfortable posting your question in the comments, you can DM me as well, and I will answer your question on live, but that way it remains more anonymous if you don't feel comfortable posting. So, super exciting stuff here. Today we're going to be talking about living in the present moment. If you saw my Instagram post regarding that the other day, it's kind of on the same note, but we're going to go into detail on that. And if you're new here, my name is Presh. So I am a double certified life coach, and I have my Master of Business Administration degree, and I'm here to guide you on your pursuit of peace and purpose. So that is what I'm here to do. I'm helping you live a more meaningful, fulfilling life. And yeah, today's topic is about living in the moment. So let's get started. Okay, so 2 things that I want to make note of regarding living in the moment. 1, I want to talk about how to notice when you're not living in the moment. And 2, I want to talk about how to shift into living in the present moment. Okay, so those are the 2 things I'm going to dive into today. And then after I talk about this, I will go over the questions that I received for coaching. So, living in the present moment is so important because it allows us to remain in alignment. Now, if you think about it, often when we are not living in the present moment, it's because we're worrying about something or thinking about something either in the future or the present moment, right? Or sorry, either the future or the past moment, and we're not in the present. So that is why it's so important to live in the present, because if you think about it, we are always in the present moment. So we can't change the past. We don't want to worry about the future. We want to be present at all times. And yes, we can take things that we've learned from the past and incorporate it in the present moment, but we never want to spend a lot of time worrying, right? Or thinking about too much about the past or the future, because now this present moment is so important, and time is our most precious resource. We want to make sure that we maximize the time that we have on this planet, right? We want to make sure that we're enjoying our life and that we are being very intentional, right? And so, some signs that you might not be living in the present moment. I'm going to break this down into 2 different categories. So, 1, you might notice if you are, kind of mind busy, right? You're having busy thoughts, your mind might be racing, you might feel stressed, you might feel anxious, you might feel, just very kind of fast-paced, kind of just very, just not present, not grounded. So that might be one sign that you are not focused on the present moment. The second one relates to more of your body. Okay, so the first one was more mind focused. You feel like you're living in your head. And this one is your body. You might feel like your muscles are really tense, or you might notice that you're holding your breath both apply to me. Sometimes when we're stressed, we forget to breathe and we're holding our breath because we're focused on, the thoughts that we're thinking, and it's creating anxiety or, pressure in our chest. And so we forget to breathe and our muscles get tense. So those are two different signs that you might not be living in the present moment. If you find yourself, living in your head, in your mind, or if you are feeling really tense in your body. So I will give you an example of what I noticed the other day. So real quick, the reason why this topic came about is, again, I wrote that post, that Instagram post on living in the present. I took a family vacation for a family wedding, and I spoke about that. So that was one example. And actually, on my way to the venue, it was out of state. I was on an airplane, and I was reading this book, The Power of Now, A Guide to Spiritual Enlightenment by Eckhart Tolle. And this is about living in the present as well. And so I was reading this book on the airplane, and as I was reading it about living in the present moment, right, I was excited about the trip and everything. Then as I'm reading it, I realized that my body was really, really tense. And so in this example, it wasn't my brain. My brain was relaxed. I was reading, but it was my subconscious brain, because I wasn't aware of it mentally. How I was aware of it was that my body was really tense, right? And it was just because I was on a flight and I was sitting next to random people, and, I like having my own personal space. I don't know about you. But it made me a little tense. Nothing crazy, but I was just not living in the present moment. My attention kept getting pulled to the fact that I was crammed on an airplane next to a couple of strangers, which is totally a human experience, right? But I noticed that, and I wanted to enjoy my experience a little bit more, so I shifted out of that. So how you can shift out of, kind of that stressed, tense state, or when you notice you're not living in the present moment or not enjoying the present moment, what you can do, if it is more of your brain and being caught in your mind, what you can do is slow down your thoughts. And this is great if you are trying to fall asleep also and you can't sleep because your mind is busy and you're having racing thoughts. What you do is you slow it down. So whatever is happening in your brain, you slow down each word, each thought, each sentence. And I mean, even right now, you should feel a little bit more calm just by doing that. Because what happens is when our thoughts start speeding up, we become anxious, our heart starts beating a little more quickly, and it keeps us alert and very on edge, right? So you can slow your thoughts down, and that should really help. If it is more of the feeling in your body that you're catching, such as the example that I just gave you while I was on the airplane, I want you to imagine, if your muscles are tense, I want you to imagine that you're a candle, okay? I randomly thought of this as a visual, but just imagine that you're a candle and the wick is at the top of your head, and you're lighting the wick, and you turn from a very stiff, dense candle into feeling the warmth from the top of your head, just slowly melting your candle that's melting from head to toe. So all of your muscles are slowly releasing. They feel warm and they feel calm. Okay? You can imagine every tiny muscle in your body from head to toe, starting from head to toe, all the muscles in your face just slowly relaxing and just continuing through your body. And it feels amazing. So the example I used while I was on the airplane and I felt my body slowly, I imagined being a candle and my muscles slowly relaxing and releasing. I felt amazing after that. And any time that I felt my muscles tense up again, I would just do that over and over and over again. And then, the more we practice things, the easier it becomes to shift out of that tense, dense state. And, we get used to shifting out of that state more quickly. So just know, I know, even as a certified life coach, I have my moments where I'm not living in the present. The difference is once we are aware of what our cues are in our brain, in our body, the quicker we can catch it and the quicker we can shift out of that state and live in the present moment, right? Because we are all human. None of us are perfect, but the more aware you are and the more you really know what those cues are, the quicker you can shift out of that. So that is what I had to say about living in the present moment. Again, a lot of stress, anxiety, worry can pull us out of the present moment. But once we know how to shift out of that and we know what cues are happening in our mind and body that are causing that or that are indicating that, we can change our state, we can change our habits, we can change our entire life just by practicing that little by little. So that's what I had to say on that topic. Now I'm going to open it up to open coaching. So if you have any questions, you can ask your questions here online on the live call. I have received a couple of questions. Someone DM'd me questions. So I will be answering those. It looks like 2 different people, but some of the questions are a little long, so I might have to break it down a little bit to go through these. Okay, let me take a sip of my water here. All right, so the first question, as it relates to the pursuit of peace and purpose, is, I've been struggling with needing validation and creating feelings in order to get that validation. Being an empath, I can't stand anyone having poor emotions besides me. Do you know of any self-help books about being selfless and helping others? So this is a fantastic question, or fantastic questions, because it's like a 3-part question here, and I love it so much. So I'll break it down. I'm going to read one by one. So the first part of that question was, I've been struggling with needing validation and creating feelings in order to get that validation. Now, I talk about highly sensitive people a lot, that personality trait of being a highly sensitive person or an empath. So this especially applies if you feel like you're highly sensitive or an empath. But this will also apply to everyone else as well. So, struggling with needing validation. First of all, I just want to really give kudos to this person who asked this, because the first step when we are going through things like this is just being aware. Like, oh, I am noticing that I need validation in order to feel a certain way. And, I want to change that. So it's amazing when we can even realize that that's keeping us from feeling at peace, right? So that's amazing. So when we're struggling with needing validation and wanting to create those feelings in order to get validation from somebody else, what it's doing is it's pulling us out of alignment. So when we are constantly looking externally for things to feel a certain feeling, we're giving our power away. And even furthermore, what's even kind of more concerning about that is I want to use the analogy of saying that we all have our own map, right? So let's say we were all given a map coming to this planet, to planet Earth, becoming a human, and our soul has a map of what our purpose is and what our experiences are going to be and our impact on the world, right? So say we have this map and we're the only ones who know how to decode it because it's in our personal soul's language. Let's just say that, okay? Just an analogy. It'll make sense in a second. So imagine handing that map to somebody else and telling them to use it to give us directions. It's not going to make sense, right? It's written specifically for us. Our life is created. Our life is existing specifically for us to have a certain experience, for us to take certain actions, and for us to live a certain life, right? Live out a certain purpose. And so when we are constantly looking externally and we need things to be a certain way externally, we are not living in accordance to our own soul. We are living by ego. And when we're not living by our own soul, we're not in alignment, we're not on our own path, and it creates a lot of conflict within us because subconsciously we know that. And so it kind of creates kind of a war within us too, because we're following someone else's map instead of our own map. So I hope that analogy really helps. I think it's hard when you want that external validation to make that go away, but when you really think about how important it is to not need that validation in order to be happy or to feel certain emotions, once you're aware of that and how important it is to really focus on your inner world and live by that, then I think it's a lot easier to follow that, because it can be really difficult when we're not used to reflecting internally and living by that. And I say all this with love because that's completely how I had lived my life for a very, very long time. But it creates so much internal conflict that it disrupts your peace. So when you think about how it's going to affect your life and how you're not really going to be living in alignment, not living in peace, and not really on track to connect to your purpose, then I think it allows us to really snap out of that and realize, oh, this isn't what I want. I don't really want that validation, that external validation. What I want is internal validation. I want to feel like I'm myself. I want to feel at peace with myself, and I want to feel like I am living the purpose that I am meant here to live. So I hope that's helpful for that first part. But just having that awareness when you feel like you need that external validation is already a life-changing thing, just knowing that you are seeking that validation. So I just want to thank the person who asked this so much, because I think this is going to help so many people, that question, and going through that. And it's a really brave question to ask. So the second part of that was being an empath. I can't stand anyone having poor emotions besides me. So relating to this, how I'm going to interpret this, if you're on here and this was your question, you can tell me, but how I'm interpreting this is this person is saying, as an empath, it's hard for them to kind of witness other people experiencing poor emotions besides themselves, because, you know, they're feeling what other people are feeling. That's what I'm taking away from this question. So the hard thing about being an HSP and empath is when you are constantly absorbing the emotions that you're witnessing other people having, you are basically suffering with them, right? And it feels like it's coming from a positive place because you care, but you can't help somebody and you can't help yourself if you are suffering alongside someone. So having compassion is one thing, wanting to help them is one thing, but suffering along with them isn't, you know, good for anybody. And so an analogy that you can use, or a visual you can use for this is, you know, if this person is on a sinking ship, do you want to be on the boat sinking with them, trying to help them, or do you want to be the person on the lifeboat coming to help them? Right? You can't help them if you are also drowning with them on a sinking ship. You have to be able to separate yourself from what that other person is experiencing and that emotion that is giving you in order to help them, right? Another way to look at it is, so the observing versus absorbing, which I posted about also in the Living in the Moment post that I made yesterday. Imagine it as you are watching a movie being projected on a screen instead of it being your own personal experience. So the difference between that is being able to witness and observe emotions from a neutral standpoint, right? So you're watching it happen on a screen versus holding that emotion like in your chest, in your body that somebody else is having. So that when you see someone having negative emotions or poor emotions, you can have compassion for them and love for them. And you can just think, oh, this person is just having their own experience, right? And I want to help them. I've been there before too, and I can do this to help them, but, you know, they're experiencing this emotion for a reason. So another thing to think about is emotions are here to guide us, right? So if we are having a certain emotion, it's most likely going to change our behavior, change our experience. And so thinking of it as this person is going through their own human experience and emotions to help them redirect them in life is helpful also. So even if we do want to help people, that's great. We just have to be able to separate ourselves from that emotion that we're watching. And I know a lot of that also relates to the mirror neurons in our brain. HSPs and empaths have really strong mirror neurons because what they're witnessing, they can feel, you know, what they're witnessing. But different things can help you separate yourself. So those visuals can help you. Imagine being on the lifeboat saving a sinking ship instead of being on the ship with that person. Meditation will also help you. So meditation will help you recognize your own energy. So that when you go out into the world or you interact with other people, you'll be familiar with your own energy and emotions versus someone else's. And then meditating also allows you to witness your emotions from a neutral, detached state. So say I'm meditating and I think, let's say, for example, I'm just thinking, you know, I'm so tired. I don't know. It's just, you're paying attention to that thought. You're observing that thought without letting it control you, right? Because you're there meditating, you're observing this thought and then it goes away. And then you're observing this thought and it goes away. And then you notice that you can observe your thoughts without like embodying them and living them in the moment. So it helps create kind of like that wall, that detached state. So I hope that helps. There's one more part of that question. Do you know of any self-help books about being selfless and helping others? So yes, pretty much all of the books that I talk about relate to being selfless and helping others because the pursuit of peace and purpose, I think, is a lot about connecting as, you know, one singular like consciousness, just as one planet, connecting to other people and figuring out how your purpose also relates to others. So I talk a lot about a lot of different books, and even if they don't specifically talk about how to help other people, a lot of these books help you figure out more about yourself, which in return, the result is typically you helping other people, right? So I mentioned The Power of Now earlier in this talk, a guide to spiritual enlightenment. Even if it doesn't help you directly help somebody else, it will teach you how to live in the moment and how to be better yourself, which in turn will help you make space to help other people. A more direct book that will help you learn about helping other people and things like that and your purpose is A New Earth, How to Create a Better Life by Eckhart Tolle, which I have mentioned. A link to that book is in my story highlights because that's my absolute favorite book right now. And in fact, I might talk about that next live because the concept of that book is very important. But it's basically talking about a new earth, the new earth, and just how the world is changing and how we are transcending into a more human consciousness, kind of unity-based world, which I love. So you can read that book. That's great for that type of thing too. But basically any book I've ever mentioned is going to help, and they're all self-help books. So those are two examples. Abundance by Deepak Chopra is also a great book that will help with that mindset as well. So those are all great spiritual, purpose, intentional types of books. Okay, so I have another question from somebody else. I need another sip of water. Okay. What's your purpose in life? Okay. What's your purpose in life? How do you find your purpose? I mean, straight defined path. What are the practical techniques used to finding your purpose? Okay, so finding your purpose in life, again, I like to think of it from the perspective of connecting or reconnecting to your purpose. So I talk about, again, in my one-on-one coaching program, right now it's a 6-month program, but that whole process is taking you through finding peace and connecting to your purpose. And the reason why peace and purpose, I think, are so connected is because we are basically products of our environment, right? So we are conditioned in society with the certain systems that are set in place to behave and to interpret things a certain way, right? So we have a collective set of beliefs as a society because we are taught certain things in school, in the media, and things like that, right? So we have these limiting beliefs, we have these ways of thinking that might not actually be how we actually feel, but we're surrounded by those concepts, and so that becomes a part of how we live and how we think. So how we connect to our purpose is we figure out what things are actually external beliefs and opinions and desires, and what we actually desire from our soul, essentially. And so what I do is I teach my one-on-one clients a lot of different tools so that they can peel back those superficial layers of what society has taught them to think, feel, desire, and what they actually want, to help them get closer to reconnecting to their purpose. And another aspect of that is calming down the nervous system to feel safe enough to pursue what we want. So there are the people who know what they want, but are afraid to go get it. And then there are the people who don't know what they want and need guidance. So calming down your nervous system and peeling back those layers are going to be super, super important, because we are used to having a survival mindset and looking externally for answers, right? So it's a new way of thinking, a new mindset, and it involves mindfulness and things like that. So that is what I teach. And that is kind of the process of connecting to your purpose, is rediscovering who you truly are apart from the external world, and then learning the tools to work through any kind of like nervous system type of reactions when you kind of take that new direction in life, because it can be really scary taking a new path when you are used to seeing or used to acting a certain way. It can be hard to switch paths, right? So that in general is how you reconnect to your purpose. Practical techniques, I will give you 3. So again, it is very personalized. This is why I love to work one-on-one. I love having these live calls, but I really like to talk to people one-on-one to really figure out what they're personally going through, so that I can give them very specific, tangible tools so they can work through it. But in general, some 3 practical techniques you can use. Again, I know I keep talking about meditation, but it's just so amazing for different things. What that's going to do is it's going to help you connect to your inner world, to your own thoughts, to your soul, and help you separate what you want from the rest of the world when you are out interacting with people, right? So meditation is going to help you reconnect to your soul. Two other things, going out and just trying things is going to be really important. And then just along with that, the third thing is going to be just being aware of how you feel, right? So it's kind of like trial and error. You go out, you try something, you notice, hey, like this doesn't actually feel very purpose-driven for me. Like this is fun, but it's not very purpose-driven. So I can't see myself doing this for a long time, or I don't feel very fulfilled doing it. I just feel entertained for a little bit, you know? I talk about how I started off in the bridal industry with my business, and I realized it was entertaining for a bit, but I wanted something that made me feel a little bit more fulfilled and like I was making more of an impact, right? So those three things: meditation, going out and trying different things to see what feels more purpose-driven for you, and then awareness of your thoughts, feelings, and emotions as you are going out there and trying new things, okay? So those are the tips that I have for that. But again, it can vary by person, and there are a lot of different tools out there. Mindfulness, mindset. I like to use mindfulness, mindset, NLP, and spiritual tools to help you connect to your purpose. And yeah, I will go into detail. I was going to say something else as it relates to A New Earth, that book that I mentioned earlier, but I'm going to save that for next time because I will go down a rabbit hole and then I won't have anything to talk about for next time. So we'll save that for next time. All right. So any last calls for questions live on the call or on the live Instagram? I keep calling it a call, but it's an Instagram live. Any other questions? I'll give a few seconds in case anyone has questions, and then if not, I'll close it down. All right, I don't see any live questions. So if you are watching this as the replay or live or listening in, then you can drop a question if it comes up in my pinned post on Instagram, on my Instagram profile. It says Ask Coach Presh. Just comment in the comments what your question is, your coaching question, and I'll answer that as it relates to the pursuit of peace and purpose, because that's what I'm here for. And I was thinking about it, pretty much everything can go back to the topic of peace and purpose. So your question most likely will be relevant, but you can drop that in the comments of that pinned post, the Ask Coach Presh post. I'll be checking that before I hop on live next time, or if you want to ask on live, you can do that also. And if you want to ask in private, you can DM me your question so that it's anonymous and no one can see it on the post, and I will answer it on the live. Alrighty? Well, I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. Thanks for listening in today, and love and care. Bye. Oh, wait. I just want to announce, I don't think I announced this at the beginning. The lives are every Wednesday now at 12 p.m. Arizona time. Okay. And Arizona time is changing from Pacific time to Mountain Standard Time soon. So just keep that in mind as well. Okay. So I will see you next Wednesday. Bye.